Hi there. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 fantastic stalemate ideas. And what I like so much about these positions is not so much that, we're seeing the stalemates, but the fact that these positions could easily happen in one of our own games. Okay, let's begin with this one, where, as you can see, the black pawn is simply unstoppable. There's nothing we can do to prevent that pawn from promoting. So the question is, can we save the game? Because this rook here is caged in. We can't get it back into play no matter what we try. So let's see how we can save the game. So we go king to a5, the pawn of course advances, and now we try this move. Now, I don't think black is going to let us play rook to g5, so he's going to take that rook, and then we're going to take back. Then the pawn marches on, and here, can we actually get a draw with all these pawns? Well, you'll be surprised at what happens. b6, king moves, then we advance our pawns. He gets a queen, and now b5. And look at this position. It's absolutely amazing because black can do nothing to prevent white from building up a coffin, okay, for his own king. Okay, he's going to play a4, then he's going to go b4, and the king will be in a stalemate position. And no matter what black tries, this position is now a dead draw. So let's try this one, for example, hitting this pawn. Of course, white's not going to go b4 and get checkmated after queen takes a2. He's going to go a4, and now doesn't really matter what he does. I mean, he could play a queen here, then it's a stalemate. Or if he tries to move his king, hoping for king here and queen there, checkmate, then of course we just go b4, king to d7, and as you can see, the king is stalemated. Okay, this is what I call a coffin. We build our own coffin for the king, but it works. Beautiful idea. I love it. Okay, let's see. That was number 5. And now let's see number 4. Position number 4. Let's take a look. Okay, I really like this position because it looks a pretty ordinary position, with the pawn and the bishop. The pawn is on the 7th rank, so only one square to go before he promotes. But of course, we need to move the bishop away. So you'd expect the rook to be able to prevent that pawn from promoting, and chances are the game would be a draw. But it's actually not that easy. For example, we can't put the rook here because then we get pinned after bishop to c7. So that move is completely out of the question. Now, we could try another move like, I don't know, say move the king out of the diagonal. But then he's got this nasty move, bishop here, okay? And there's nothing stopping the pawn. I mean, we can do an in-between check, but it doesn't really help, okay? Because we're going to go king here. So what does white do to save the game? It looks impossible. I mean, you can stop the video right now and try to find an answer. How does white save the game? And let's take a look. Rook to b3. Okay, this is a pretty obvious move. Okay, white threatens rook here, pinning the bishop. But of course, he's going to move that bishop. And where is he going to put it? He's going to put it here because it's a check. And now we're going to go to the corner, because if you want to draw by stalemate, your chances increase dramatically if your king is in the corner. Okay, so we're going to move the king over there. Now, when he gets a queen, doesn't really matter if he gets a rook, it makes no difference. Then we go rook to b1, queen takes rook, and voila, this is the position that we've got. The king is in a stalemate position. Really nice ending, not very difficult, but so practical. It could so easily happen in one of our own games. I just love that one. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Position, endgame, stalemate, number 3. Okay, here we go. Now, look at those 3 pawns. They're nasty pawns. Okay, they're not easy to stop. Of course, we can't sacrifice the bishop because after pawn takes, we're completely lost. And that's not the only problem. We can't move the king here either, because then the black king comes to g2 and the f pawn is unstoppable. Okay, so what does white do? He's only got one move. Okay, if we want to prevent king here and king here, which basically wins the game, the only move we can play is bishop here. But there is a problem with this, because black now goes d3. The only move we can play now, because black threatens this, is to take. And of course, after pawn takes, king takes, it's an obvious draw, because the king will come around and pick up this pawn. But the problem is, black can now play d2. And of course, if we go king to e2, he takes this bishop, and then one of the 2 pawns will definitely promote. So we've got to do something about it. But surprisingly, this is where the beautiful comes in. Bishop to e1, double exclamation mark. The threat now is bishop takes pawn, pawn takes, and then king here. He cannot get a queen, because if he does, the position is a stalemate. Okay, so the only move he can play, and then I must say that's the main variation. This game did not end with stalemate, okay, but with another variation which ends in a draw anyway. So what black did now is he promoted a rook. Good try. However, after king to e2, rook here, now we've got several ways to draw. We could go bishop here, and bishop takes pawn. We could even go bishop c3, bishop here, and bishop takes pawn. The position is a dead draw because the rook cannot defeat a king and bishop. So let's move on to number 2. Position number 2. Here we go. And this is absolutely amazing, okay? Just look at the position. This pawn is so incredibly hard to stop. What is white going to do to stop that pawn from promoting? It's impossible. It's completely impossible. I mean, if we move our king so as to bring the bishop into play and bring it here and bring it here, we don't have enough time. Black just goes g2 and g1 and gets a queen. There's nothing we can do. So in this position, white tries bishop here. The idea being bishop to c5, and then, both pawns are under control. So the king goes to b6, and now we go bishop here. Good try. Okay, check. Now, this position is interesting because if the king makes a move like king here, then we've got this in-between move, bishop check. Okay, threatening to bring the bishop here and stop that pawn. And then this bishop would easily stop this one. And if he takes, then we go bishop here. And this position is a draw. Okay, actually in this position, we pick this up much easier. Okay, and now we threaten this. And if the king tries to stop it, we simply bring the bishop here. And when the pawn advances, just bishop here. So let's move back. So king to b5 is out of the question, but he's got a much better move. He can try king to c5. Okay, and again, things look very, very difficult for white. Okay, because another check is not going to help. So in this position, he tries bishop to d5, double exclamation mark. It's an unbelievable move. If the king takes that bishop now, then after king to f5, bishop here, king here, g2, bishop here. And this position is a draw. The basic rule of thumb is that a bishop can control two pawns like this when they're not connected pawns if they're separated by less than 5 files. And here there's only 1 file separating them. So if our king is active, okay, and the bishop controls the diagonal, this position should be a draw. Okay, you can try a few moves, but you can easily see that those pawns are very easy to stop. Okay, there's not very much black can do in this position. So let's go back. After bishop to d5, double exclamation mark, the bishop takes, and now the pawn threatens to advance again. What do we do now? Well, let's see it. Now white takes that pawn, which looks like a waste of time because now the pawn is just 1 square away from promotion. But then white has bishop to h4, double exclamation mark. Now, if he gets a rook, of course, we go bishop to f2. If he gets a queen, we go bishop f2 anyway, because after queen takes, voila, we've got a beautiful stalemate position. Okay, the king is not in check. The king has nowhere to go. The game ends in a draw. Beautiful idea. The only other thing black could try here is to get a bishop instead of a queen. But if he does, the position is a dead draw because 2 bishops can't defeat 1 bishop and king. It's impossible. Okay, the easiest way would be to bring your king to this corner and put the bishop on this diagonal, and there's no way, nothing black can do to make progress. Okay, that's probably even unnecessary. Okay, but it's a dead draw. But let's see position number 1, which is my favorite. Out of all the ones that I've chosen, it's my favorite. I mean, there are many positions in endgame studies, like most of the positions that we've seen are endgame studies. I'll tell you the names later of the composers. But my favorite is out of these 5 is this one that comes next. Okay, a very practical position, with a pass pawn, which seems very difficult to stop. We've got white has his own pass pawn. What happens here? Okay, we need to prevent that pawn from promoting. And it's going to be promoting with check as well. So white now goes rook here, which is completely forced. So key moves here, we threaten the pawn advance again. So we go rook here. Of course, black could get a draw if he wanted to with pawn up, but he wants more. So he tries this. And now, of course, we need to keep our rook on this row, and we don't want to go here because black gains a tempo with king here, and if we put it here, there's a check, and that could be trouble. So it's either d1 or e1, but if we bring it to d1, then the king comes to c2 anyway, and the rook has to move again. So the rook has to come to e1. This is the best move he can play. And now we've got bishop to f2, and again, he's got a problem. Because where does the rook go? Like if you go here, then I'm going to go rook here and gain a tempo again. For example, let's say the rook goes here instead. Then we go king here. The rook goes back to d1, king to c2, rook there. And now I've got a simple idea, blockading idea. Bishop check, king here, and bishop to c1. And look at that, pawn is unstoppable. The check does nothing because I block again. So the only move that white can play, and you can stop the video now and try to find out because it's actually very difficult if you've never seen it before, and it's also very instructive. Okay, so in this position, white can play king to g4, which is unbelievable. Okay, because what happens if, white threatens king here, what happens if the black bishop takes the rook? Well, that's the whole point. Now we go king here. Okay, and the pawn is under attack. And now, when the pawn promotes and becomes a knight, and that's the whole point, that's the main line, the variation. If he gets a queen or a rook, makes no difference. The king is in a stalemate position. Okay, so the stalemate in this case is one of the variations. But the other line is if he gets a knight, he under promotes, then we go king here, we're attacking the knight. He can only move over here, and then we go king to f1, and we pick up one of the 2 pieces. Beautiful idea, fantastic idea, I love it. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you liked it, and please make sure you subscribe. Okay, it makes a whole difference to us if you do. Okay, we need to grow if we want to stay alive. So please do subscribe. Thank you.
See the subscribe button, hug it, show it some love, but above all, click it. And don't forget to visit our website, chess.clinic.